Hi, welcome to my little bookish corner of the internet. My name's Harriet. Today is going to be a very chill review. I've got a little candle burner which I'd like to show you. It's pumpkin juice. This is a company called The Reading Room Candles. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I bought these all myself. But these smell so good. And they're obviously soy wax, so they're completely vegan, and they also use a wood wick and are in a recyclable tin too, which is amazing, so it's a little bit better for the environment. Today I'm going to do a spoiler-free review of the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman. I unfortunately don't have the novel with me, but I'll be putting a picture up here somewhere, maybe that side. I still haven't figured out what looks best. It will be on the screen so you can see, and I've got some of my own pictures that I'll show you as well, which come from my Bookstagram. Okay, let's get started. So, His Dark Materials. The first book is called The Northern Lights. And in this book, we're following a young girl called Lyra Balakwa, and she lives in Oxford, but not the Oxford that we know. In Lyra's world, people have things called demons. They're kind of like an external manifestation of one's inner self, and it takes the shape of an animal. When you're younger, your demon can take pretty much any form. It chops and changes depending on what you're doing and what suits you best. So for example, Mrs. Coulter, who is a character in these novels, she's a slightly older woman, and her demon has settled on being a golden monkey, whereas Lyra's chops and changes between being a stoat, an arctic fox, all sorts. But yeah, so essentially when you hit puberty, your demon will settle, and then that will be the shape that it takes forever. It won't be able to change. Because it isn't an external manifestation of your inner self, it is connected to you, so when you feel pain, it feels pain. The demons can't really travel very far away from you, or so we believe when we first start the story. That is one of the many differences between our world and Lyra's world. Lyra's world also involves something called dust, which isn't what we know it to be. It's something very different, but I'm not going to spoil what that is because it's quite a big part of all of the books, especially the first one. But it's very interesting and very magical and fantastical, so I think you'll really enjoy reading about that. It's definitely the thing that kind of pushes the plot along in the first book. Anyway, so the main plot point is that Lyra is going north to try and find her best friend Roger, who she believes has been taken by something that the children in Oxford are calling the Gobblers. You find out a lot about these Gobblers, what they are, what they're doing. All I'll say to you now is they are taking children and we aren't sure where they're going to. So that is the main plot point that drives this story. There is so much going on though. It is a huge world that we are dropped into. We get to see people that are quite similar to ourselves. We see the demons, but there are also talking animals and even armoured bears and witches. So if you're looking for something really fantastical, creative, this book is a really good one. I think it was a perfect setup for the trilogy. You get to meet all these fantastic characters and they're really well developed. There's plenty of unanswered questions and cliffhangers to make you want to keep reading. That's throughout the first book and towards the end as well to take you into the second book. Our main character Lyra is a very strong main character, albeit kind of unlikable to start with because she's really stubborn. But it is extremely in character for her to behave that way, and you do understand why she is the way she is the more that you get into the story. We also get to meet loads of lovable characters like Ulrich Bernison. He's probably my favourite character out of the whole series, and also Lee Scoresby. If you have seen the His Dark Materials TV show, I will talk about this in a little bit as well. But those two characters in that series are spot on, they're really good. Yeah, I just think they did a fantastic job. Obviously this is a children/young adult series, so it's not that hard to follow, but at the beginning there is a lot of information that's kind of put out there and it isn't really explained. So things feel quite tangled to start with, but I promise you it gets a lot easier to understand what's going on. But you aren't like spoon-fed the information, so you're always left wanting more without feeling super lost. Yeah, overall it was a fantastic read. I really enjoyed it. I read the first book probably the fastest out of all of them. As I just mentioned, I have seen the TV show that was released by the BBC, His Dark Materials, but I have only seen season 1, and that was the first book, The Northern Lights. I have also seen that film that came out, the Golden Compass one in like the 2000s. I won't say too much about that film. It's not my favourite thing ever. I don't think a lot of people love it, but I'm sure some people did enjoy it. But watching season 1 of His Dark Materials and the Golden Compass movie did give me some of the details of the plot, which I found really handy actually to get me into the world. I was already kind of familiar with it, but I was still hooked throughout. So I didn't know everything that was going to happen and I was still surprised with some parts. And the books, I have to say, they're easily better than the TV show or the film, in my opinion. Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Then we get on to the two books that I knew absolutely nothing about. So the second book is called The Subtle Knife, and this story follows a new character named Will, who comes from our world. You get to see a little bit of his life before he ends up meeting Lyra in some unforeseen circumstances. Now, Will is a character that I grew to love. I didn't love him to start with, but I don't think he was written to be lovable. I think he was supposed to be more of a mature figure to Lyra. And as the story moves on, you do get to see a different side to him as what you do when you first start out. So if you are reading this and think, oh, I really don't like him, you might end up liking him as the story goes forward. What I really liked was how Lyra's super strong-willed and stubborn personality mixed with Will's quieter and more mature personality. I think they kind of bounced off each other really well. This novel definitely felt a lot darker than the first one. There are some deaths in here and some sad and emotional scenes as well. It also feels very urgent, so the journey that Lyra was going on kind of felt a little bit, not aimless, but she didn't really know what she was doing in the first one, and now in the second one we have more of an idea of what's going to happen and what might be happening with the worlds around them. There is still plenty that we don't know though. I'm going to talk about the third book in a minute because it was just crazy. There was loads of information and everything was kind of answered in the end, but in the second one everything is still left very ambiguous. I'm drinking a hot chocolate with whipped cream on top and I'm really nervous that I'm going to have like a little whipped cream upper lip. Yeah, so we learn a lot more about the world, but you also get to see the characters a bit more and watch them develop and their friendships and relationships with each other and how that's being affected by the events that are going on in the book. After reading the second book, I really want to watch the second season of His Dark Materials. If you have watched it, let me know down below if you enjoyed it, what you liked about it, and hopefully I can check it out soon. Okay, the final book in the trilogy, which is called the Amber Spyglass. This was my favourite, and I think it's because we were really hyper-focused on the characters that had already been established in the previous two books. So everything was very plot-driven, and you completely understood why the characters were doing what they were doing, but you were really concerned about them. Again, there's a lot of dark themes in here. There are death still, sadness, heartbreak, but there's also great themes of friendship and love. There were quite a few twists and turns in this, but it didn't feel like Philip Pullman was just putting them in there to have a twist. It felt like something he'd really thought about and planned ahead from the beginning. They just felt very genuine, which made things more intense. And the way that the characters acted in those situations as well felt so genuine to how I thought their character was. He's just done a great job at creating these people and sticking to how they are, while also giving them some character development so they're not stuck in the same place. We get the answers to everything that we could possibly hope for. We do still get like a kind of cliffhanger at the end, which I guess he put in there because he knew he was going to write the Book of Dust series. I think that's going to be a trilogy, right? So you've got 2 books that are out at the moment and then another one coming out. I actually just got the first one in a mystery unboxing, which is on my channel. I actually filmed it. So you'll see my reaction. I was a little bit excited when I opened it up and saw that's the book that I got. Yeah, so I'm going to be starting that soon, which is going to be really fun. But yeah, apart from that little cliffhanger at the end, all of the questions that you had are pretty much answered. It's nice. It feels like everything is tied up, but it's not rushed in any way. It's all kind of been leading up to this moment, to this final book, and then everything happens. I don't want to say much more about this because if I say anything about the plot, you're going to guess what happened in the previous 2 books. But it was great. It was pretty fast paced with lots of adventure, lots of amazing character development, which is one of my favourite things in fantasy series. And of course the fantastic world building as well. Philip Pullman definitely knows how to create a new world, or new worlds. I also liked how this had a bit of a coming of age theme to it as well. But yeah, those are my spoiler-free thoughts about the His Dark Materials trilogy. Let me know if you've read them or if they are on your TBR. And also let me know who your favourite character is if you've read them or watched the series or film. I really love Yorick. I think he's my favourite. But yeah, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you have a really lovely rest of your day as well. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye!